We've received quite a bit of interest in my free to be workshop, so to that effect, beneath this video is a link that will give you a description for the workshop, and we've also included a special discount. So if that's something you would be interested in, I would invite you to click that link, and I hope that you would find the course to be quite beneficial. I want to talk with you today about how covert narcissism works and how these individuals who are into that manner of life can have all sorts of wily ways of bringing you into their loyalties, only for you to find out later on that what you see on the surface isn't necessarily what you get. Unlike their overt narcissistic counterparts, who are very demanding and overbearing and forceful in the way that they engage with you, and they leave no mistake that they have to be in charge. The covert narcissists, well, they want to be in charge too, but they want to give you the impression that you're winning and you're really getting a whole lot out of it, when in fact they're using you. And it's really sad to have to think this way, because you'd rather have relationships where you don't have to worry about being played and being manipulated, but that's part of the game with these individuals. So I want to walk you through 10 different tactics that these covert narcissists can use with you, so that you can see what their schemes are all about. And the more you're able to spot what they're doing, then the more it allows you to have an objectivity so you don't get caught in their snares. Now, one of the first things I want to mention that's very common with covert narcissists, they can come off initially as being very helpful toward you, with a scorekeeping mindset, I might add. So this individual who wants to be in control may say something like, hey, I'd be glad to lay down my needs and I'll be glad to tend to whatever's going on with you. And they can be very thoughtful. They can be very complimentary. They can offer you gifts and things of that nature. Later on, you find out that they're feeling like, now you owe me and you're in my debt. And so initially you can feel a sense of loyalty toward them, and you can actually give them that very supply that they're looking for. But then you realize this is not a reciprocal kind of thing at all. I'm nice to you, and the only thing you can think of is, yeah, keep it coming. And if you don't keep it coming, what's wrong with you? That's how they operate. So that initial goodness and decency is nothing more than a ruse. Sad to think that way. A second thing that these covert narcissists might do is they can express concern toward you, and they can show an interest in whatever is going on in your life, especially when there are difficulties. But later on, you realize all the while they're collecting data about you that they can use against you later on. For example, let's suppose that you've had a strain or a difficulty, or there's been a collapse in a project, or there's been some sort of hurt that you're dealing with, something of that nature. And they can come along and say, hey, tell me what that's all about. And what's going on here, and what's the history and all. And you can think, wow, it's so nice to know that in my time of need, this person is there for me. And so you can share all sorts of personal information, or you can let them come in and be helpful. But then later on, you find out that behind your back, they may be saying something like, oh yeah, that person over there, they just keep goofing things up. They don't do things right. I don't know what's going on. I try to help, of course. And so initially you can feel a sense of loyalty and goodness toward them, only to find out that I was being played again on that one. Sad. A third thing that they might do in terms of gaining loyalty from you, it may be that they will play what I refer to as the tragic hero role. By that I mean, let's suppose they come and tell you a story about someone in their life, the narcissist's life, and they say, you know, I've tried so many ways to help this person out, and I've done this for them, and I've taken up that assignment from them, or I've given them extra, and they just keep making my life miserable. All the good things that I do and all of the things that I've done way beyond the call of duty, I'm telling you, I'm worn out. And of course, what they want to do is they want you to say, oh, I so respect you for all the things that you do, and I so have such a high regard for you. Later on, you may find out that some of the complaints that they have aren't nearly as bad as they intended it to be. In fact, some of it may even be made up, or it could be that some of the difficulty that they had with that other person they contributed to. But many times they try to garner sympathy from you as a means of you coming back and saying, oh, I just so want to make your life go better. And it's like, good, I'm getting my supply. Keep it coming, and much of it may not be anchored in reality or truth. A fourth thing that these covert narcissists may do is they may just outright play the victim card. They may say things to you like, look how mean this person's been to me, or I did such and such for this individual, and I'm telling you, I've never been treated so poorly in my life. Or these people over here, you think they're good folks, and then they just come and they just do all sorts of things to sabotage you, and they can just be the victim. I don't know, this person just really did me wrong. When in fact, you find out later on that maybe none of that happened, or the complaints that they had are made up, or it could be that that narcissistic person was so impossible and so difficult and non-cooperative that yes, some difficulties may be there, and so that victimization that they initially will throw at you, look how I've been victimized, is nothing but a ruse to gain sympathy and gain your support, when in fact, again, you can be being played. A fifth tactic that they may use is they may give you misinformation about their antagonists. For example, let's suppose that they have had a difficulty or a relationship that fell apart or a project that didn't go well. And so that covert narcissist might say something like, well, one of the things I learned by being around this person is, they are so greedy. Or, man, that person wound up being so argumentative, or every time we had a discussion, that person would take no input. And so, they really struggle real hard to find friends. And so they'll say all sorts of things that are very unfavorable toward that antagonistic person. Later on, you find from the people that they were engaging with that actually there was a whole lot of projecting going on. That narcissist may have been the one who's argumentative or greedy or has had broken relations, but they allow you to assume that that other individual is the one that's making it happen. And for a while, you become the supply to the narcissist, where you're thinking, wow, I'm so pulling for you. And they're thinking, good, it's working, at least for right now it is. A sixth thing that they might do, a tactic that they might use, is they can put a big spotlight on a small good deed. Now, by that, let's suppose that they come at you and say, oh, in our neighborhood, the kids just absolutely love to come to our house because it's such a wonderful place, and they so enjoy all the different things that we have to offer there. Or it may be that they'll say something like, I actually took some meals to my elderly aunt who was in a nursing home, and oh, she was so happy to have me there. And it's almost as though they're looking for the next step, which is for you to say, well, it's time for you to become a saint. We need to offer you up for sainthood. And it's like, look at how terrific I am. When in fact, well, a lot of folks have people that enjoy going over to someone's house with the kids, or a lot of folks have relatives that they help out. But they'll take the spotlight and say, but I'm really unique. I'm one of the really, really good people here. And so they overplay some of their good deeds toward other individuals because they want other individuals to think, wow, you're the best. A seventh tactic they may use is they can express verbal support toward you in your difficulties, only for you to find out later on it doesn't translate into actual behavior. So let's suppose you're having a difficulty and it's like, oh, if there's anything that I can do to help you, let me know. And then they want to find out all the details. And then later on, when it comes time for you to call your chips in and say, hey, I actually could use some help, they make an excuse, or they're not available, or they're evasive. And so all of that nice, supportive, encouraging talk was just nothing but a false front, which is part of what narcissism is. It's living into the false self. Or how about an eighth tactic that they can use? Sometimes these covert narcissists, they'll talk about all sorts of ailments or misfortunes that come so that you can then give them sympathy. For example, it may be like, my back's just been killing me. I'm really trying hard to do all of my labor and all, but I'm really struggling with my physicality. Or I had this person that just bailed on me, or this person left me on a job. And at first you can come in and say, oh, you poor thing, and you want to pat them on the back, only to find out later on they use that complaint a whole lot, and it winds up being nothing more than an excuse. But to the narcissist, it's a means to an end. And it's like, well, if you can come and give me the sympathy and the good vibes that I'm looking for, works for me. Or a ninth tactic they might use is, let's suppose that they've been dishonest with you, or they've been secretive, and then they're busted and you catch them in the midst of their dishonesty. Then what they'll do is they'll say, well, the reason that I had to keep things secret is, you don't really know this, but this person has had such a deep history of not responding well that they're just, I just couldn't be open about it. And so they allow you to assume that their dysfunction is caused by someone else's dysfunction, and never mind the fact that they lied to you and that they kept secrets. It's like, well, I did it for a good reason. And so again, short term, you might think, oh, I didn't know the whole story, when in fact you're being played. And then how about a 10th ruse that they can use, a tactic to bring in your loyalty? And that is, they may at times cash in on a history of many broken relationships. Let's suppose that they're having some difficulty with you, and then they may say something like, well, I haven't really told you about this, but I'm really stressed out because of my ex, or I had a terrible childhood, or I had this, that, and the other with a business situation, and I hadn't gotten into the details with you. And so by appealing to your sympathies, then you may lay down whatever kind of accountability you might otherwise want to have with them, and just say, well, that being the case, why don't we just let you have your way? And it's like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Now, I go through these, and it's rather pitiable to think that some individuals just like to work the room, so to speak. It's like they can't be straightforward with you. There's always an angle behind whatever kind of seeming good or seeming sympathy that they talk about. You know, one of the things that I believe, you've heard me say that DRC stands for dignity, respect, and civility. If you're going to have loyalty and good connections with people, initiate that, because that really helps. But that's just something that's lost on them. They'll let you assume that they're leaning into that, when in fact it's merely smoke and mirrors. So let's just recognize that many times when you have a strongly narcissistic person of the covert variety, they'll want you to think that they're good, or they're a sympathetic person, when in fact it's all a ruse. And the more you begin seeing this pattern in play, it's okay. And we'll take it further. It's more than okay. It can be necessary for you to say, I'm pulling back. I'm on to you. I don't want to be on the end of your hook and play into the game that you think is going to make me feel sympathetic for you. I just can't do that in good conscience. Go find someone else that you can dupe. I'm not going to be duped. Now, I hope that videos such as this give you some good food for thought, and if you've not already done so, I would encourage you to subscribe. If you have a need for counseling, I would encourage you in your area, if there's someone there, that you would avail yourself to that. If that's not a possibility, or if you would prefer otherwise, we have a sponsor whose link is below that could take you toward a whole team of licensed professional counselors who could help you with online counseling. We have other resources, my courses, free to be, and then a new one that we have that's coming up. This is me setting boundaries with the controllers in your life. We have books and other kind of resources, so avail yourself to that. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with narcissistic people, you have to realize that they're manipulators and schemers. But once you see it, then I'm hoping it positions you to say, I'm pulling back, I'm setting my boundaries, because I want to be a person of steadiness and peace, and I want to be someone that is able to live with a mind awake.